Hi, this is Kendra from Pencil and Pigment, and today I'm doing my art news video, and I'm just going to be doodling a sketch. We have a lot going on today, so I am multitasking as I go. But I wanted to talk about some art that was in the news, and maybe you remember this one. So I want to talk about Marc Chagall, and he was a Belarusian French artist, and he lived from 1887 to 1985. And my favorite things about him is that he used so many different mediums and created on so many different formats, and that's one of my favorite things. And he did, oh man, he did paintings and drawings and book illustrations and stained glass, stage sets. He did ceramics and tapestries, and he is sort of considered a pioneer of the modernism and created works that were cubist, symbolist, fauvist, which later sort of moved into surrealism. And I will link in the description box if you're curious about some of these different art styles and different movements and what those look like and some of his other pieces. I will link all that in the description box below in case you're curious. And on June 7th, which is another reason why I'm talking about this, it's almost coming up on the anniversary of this event, a painting of Chagall's had been, and it was a watercolor, and it was on loan to a museum in New York. And it was called Study of Overvrytek. And this is what it looked like, and this is about the size of it. So it was 8 by 10. This is a watercolor. As you can see, it is very, very cool. There's a bunch of special meanings behind this piece, and I will link that as well if you are curious. And it was estimated at about $1 million value. And it was on loan from a private collector, and it was sent to the Jewish Museum in New York. Now, the Jewish Museum in New York did something really cool, but sometimes the best of intentions. So they had a singles mixer where a bunch of single people got together and hung out, and it was like 200 people. It was a reception event they had at the museum, which I think that's a great way to, if you are single and you're trying to meet other people that love art, I think that's a really cool idea. However, the next morning, and this is June 7th, 2001, and the next morning they noticed a screw on the ground and then noticed that the painting had been taken and removed from the wall. Now, the FBI came in, they were notified, they interviewed about 300 people, the staff, everybody else at this mixer, and they just didn't have any clues. There wasn't a lot of information to go on, unfortunately, and they offered up a reward. It was $25,000 for anybody that had any information about the theft of this piece. And 5 days later, a typed letter came in the mail, and it said, "Hi, we have this piece, but if you want it back, as I'm sure you do, since there's a reward, we want peace in the Middle East." Now, it was signed from a group that I'm not familiar with, that the FBI wasn't familiar with, and it was called the International Committee for Art and Peace. And they, in the letter, they talked about things that only the thief would know. You know, there's numbers and identification things on the back of Chagall's art. And so they knew that these were the actual people or person that had it. And there was nothing. There's not a lot a museum can do in regards to sort of international conflict. You know what I mean? Like, there just isn't a lot. So they tried to talk with them, negotiate, nothing worked. And eventually, you know, with the reward and stuff, that's all that could be done. Now, fast forward 7 months later, January 2002, and in Topeka, Kansas, a postal employee, a mailroom clerk, opens up a package that was undeliverable, trying to figure out what it is, if they can figure out how to get it to the person it was supposed to go to, and what do they find inside but the actual Chagall painting. They telephone the FBI. The FBI comes out. It's actually held in Kansas for, you know, almost a month while they are looking at it, trying to figure out, is this the actual painting? It turns out, and I did not know this, that Chagall paintings are his art is one of the most copied out of all artists in the world. So to verify, they had to contact his great-granddaughter, and her name, let's see, I have her name written down, Bella Mayer, and she's a member of the Chagall Committee, which is based in Paris, and there's an organization that helps authenticate Chagalls, and that's all they do. Well, that's not all they do, but his art is like the most faked, and I just think that is absolutely fascinating. And she was able to authenticate it, and it was able to go back to the original private owner that had lent the piece out, which they had to have been pretty stressed. And that's sort of the end. They never arrested anybody. Nobody was ever found. Nobody ever came forward. There wasn't any information. It was just found in a post office in Kansas, undeliverable, and somebody opened it up to try and figure out who it was supposed to go to. And the other reason I'm talking about this is because what happened a week ago at the Louvre in Paris, France, with the Mona Lisa. So if you don't know, and I posted a little thing on my communities tab, a gentleman dressed up as an elderly woman in a wheelchair, and he was very purposeful in that choice, because if you are in a wheelchair and you want to see the Mona Lisa at the Louvre, they take you back behind the stanchions, behind the roped cord area. She is one of the best protected paintings in the world, and you can get a closer view at it. Well, he took a cake and smashed a cake on her, and then said it was in sort of, think of the earth. Like this was a statement about global warming maybe, and people are trying to figure out like what his motives were and what his punishment should be for trying to destroy a piece of art. But for him, it was in the name of the earth. So both these kind of pieces and things have parallels in that folks had bigger sort of pictured issues in mind when they were, you know, kind of smashing and doing this stuff, stealing it in the name of peace. And I don't know if we're going to have a conversation about sort of, you know, the environment and taking care of the earth. I think we need to start maybe with NFTs and have that sort of conversation, because NFTs are, I will link some information about them. They're on a blockchain. It uses up a lot of energy. I don't know that smashing, it definitely gets you a lot of attention. Here's the thing. If you're going to target art in the name of political activism or something, it's going to garnish you a lot of attention. It's not going to be positive attention, but you will get a lot of attention drawn to you. And if that's maybe your only motivator, then I guess that's a success, but I'm not sure that this is the way to go with precious and valuable art. So that is kind of my news story today. And I'm currently in cat ears. We're doing a birthday party. But I just wanted to talk about this painting because it got back to the, the individual lender 7 months later, which is always a great thing. And it's a watercolor, which is always lovely. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye.